Welcome to the world of science fiction, where extraordinary tales and boundless imagination come to life. Enjoy the journey. The hologram flickered to life in Luke Miller's dimly lit Seattle apartment, casting an ethereal blue glow across his face. His heart nearly stopped when Tariak's familiar features materialized before him. The sharp angles of his emerald face, those penetrating silver eyes. His dead friend looked exactly as Luke remembered him from their engineering projects together at the Interstellar Coalition. "If you're seeing this, Luke, then I'm already dead." Tariak's voice carried the same quiet strength it always had. "And you're probably wondering why I've chosen you for what comes next." Luke sank into his chair, coffee forgotten on his desk. He hadn't heard Tariak's voice in over 6 months. Not since his friend had returned to his home planet for some urgent family matter. "I need you to be my successor, my friend. Not just for my wealth or position, but for something far more important." Tariak's hologram seemed to look directly at Luke. "My sisters." The image shifted, showing 2 striking women with the same emerald skin as Tariak. The taller one stood with warrior's grace, her long silver hair braided intricately, eyes sharp as steel. The younger had softer features but carried herself with quiet dignity, her dark hair falling in waves around her shoulders. "Kaylee and Mara," Tariak continued. "By the ancient laws of the Rikshasa clan, they need protection, a guardian, a husband." Luke choked on air. "What?" "I know this is overwhelming." Tariak's recording seemed to anticipate his reaction. "But you're the only one I trust, the only one who can keep them safe from what's coming." His expression grew grave. "There's more at stake than you know. A transport will arrive for you in exactly 6 hours. Pack light. And Luke." The hologram flickered. "Watch your back. Not everyone on Vitrael will welcome you." The message ended, leaving Luke alone in his suddenly too quiet apartment. He stared at the space where his friend's image had been, mind racing through implications. Husband? To both of them? What kind of laws did these people have? His phone buzzed, making him jump. A message displayed coordinates and a countdown timer, 5 hours, 58 minutes, and 43 seconds. "Well," Luke muttered, running a hand through his dark hair, "guess I better pack." He moved to his closet, then stopped. What the hell does one pack for becoming an instant husband on an alien world? The next 6 hours passed in a blur of preparation and increasingly bizarre messages. Each one contained small data packets about Vitrael, cultural notes, basic language primers, legal documents that made his head spin. By the time he reached the designated coordinates, a deserted parking lot outside the city, Luke felt like he'd crammed for the strangest exam of his life. The transport wasn't what he expected. No dramatic spaceship, just a sleek silver pod barely big enough for 2 people. It opened silently as he approached, interior lights pulsing invitingly. "Your authorization is confirmed, Mr. Miller," a pleasant voice announced. "Please secure yourself for departure." Luke took one last look at the Seattle skyline, his home for the past decade. "I must be insane," he muttered, climbing in. The pod sealed around him with a soft hiss. No visible controls, just a contoured seat that seemed to mold to his body. "Initiating transfer sequence," the voice announced. "Please remain calm during molecular reconstruction." "During what now?" The world dissolved into shimmering light. Luke felt a sensation like being pulled in every direction at once, yet compressed to a single point. His stomach lurched, his vision swam, and then reality snapped back into focus. The pod door opened to reveal a sight that stole his breath away. Crystal spires pierced violet clouds, their surfaces reflecting the light of twin suns. Floating gardens drifted between the towers, cascading with vegetation in impossible shades of blue and silver. Vehicles that looked like liquid metal streamed through the air in orderly lines, while robed figures walked on transparent bridges that seemed made of pure light. "Welcome to Vitrail, Mr. Miller." A tall figure stood waiting beside the pod, skin a pale mint green, wearing what looked like a combination of formal robes and high-tech armor. "I am Sentinel Frey, assigned to escort you to the Rikshasa estate." Luke stepped out on shaky legs, grateful when they held his weight. "How long was that trip?" "Approximately 3 of your Earth seconds." Frey's expression remained neutral. "This way, please." They boarded a hovering platform that moved silently through the city. Luke tried not to gape at everything they passed, but it was impossible. Holographic displays floated everywhere, showing information in flowing script he couldn't read. People of various shades of green skin went about their business, many stopping to stare at him with undisguised curiosity or disdain. "Not many humans visit Vitrail," Frey commented, noticing his discomfort. "And none have ever been named successor to a Rikshasa clan member." "About that." Luke turned to his escort. "These laws about marriage, surely there's some kind of alternative arrangement." "The laws are absolute." Frey's tone brooked no argument. "The sisters must have a protector of proper standing, or they forfeit their place in society. Without clan status, they would be—" He paused. "Vulnerable." The platform descended toward a sprawling estate that seemed to grow from the crystal bedrock itself. Gardens surrounded it, but these weren't the ornamental floating variety. These were clearly defensive, with what looked like sensor arrays disguised as flowering vines. 2 figures waited at the entrance. Luke's heart rate picked up as he recognized them from the hologram, but the recording hadn't done them justice. Kaylee stood like a statue carved from jade, her military posture emphasized by the form-fitting combat suit she wore. Up close, her features were startlingly beautiful, but in a way that suggested she could kill you with a thought. Her silver hair caught the light of the setting suns, creating a halo effect that was somewhat undermined by her scowl. Mara's presence was softer but no less striking. Her flowing robe seemed to shift colors with each movement, and delicate tattoos traced patterns across her exposed arms. Where her sister radiated deadly grace, Mara projected an aura of serene wisdom that made Luke want to sit at her feet and learn ancient secrets. Both sisters had eyes that seemed to glow from within. Kaylee's silver like starlight, Mara's a deep azure that reminded him of Earth's oceans. "So," Kaylee's voice cut through the air like a blade, "this is what my brother sent to protect us? A soft Earth engineer who looks like he's never held a weapon in his life?" "Kaylee," Mara's gentle rebuke carried surprising authority. "Taryak chose him. We must respect that choice." She turned to Luke, inclining her head slightly. "Welcome to our home, Luke Miller, though I wish the circumstances were different." Luke bowed awkwardly, trying to remember the cultural notes he'd studied. "I'm honored by your welcome and by Taryak's trust, though I admit I'm as surprised by this situation as you must be." "Surprised?" Kaylee moved with liquid speed, suddenly right in front of him. "You think we're merely surprised that our brother's death has bound us to a stranger? That our entire future now depends on whether you can prove worthy of the Rikshasa name?" Her face was inches from his, and Luke caught a scent like exotic spices and ozone. He held her gaze, refusing to back down. "I think you're grieving, angry, and stuck with an impossible situation. I think you deserve better than having your lives decided by ancient laws. But I also think Taryak knew what he was doing when he chose me, and I won't dishonor his memory by failing you." Something flickered in Kaylee's silver eyes. Surprise, perhaps, before she stepped back. "Fine words. We'll see if you can back them up." She turned and stalked into the house. Mara approached more slowly, studying him with those deep blue eyes. "You spoke well, but my sister is right. Words alone won't be enough here." She gestured for him to follow. "Come, there's much you need to learn, and very little time." The interior of the estate was a seamless blend of organic architecture and advanced technology. Corridors seemed to breathe, walls shifting subtly as they walked. Holographic displays appeared and vanished like smoke, and somewhere Luke heard what sounded like crystal wind chimes. "Your quarters have been prepared," Mara explained as they walked. "You'll find appropriate clothing and basic necessities. I suggest you rest while you can. Tomorrow, your trials begin." "These trials," Luke started, "will test every aspect of your character," she finished. "Your wisdom, your courage, your loyalty." She stopped at an ornate door that spiraled open at their approach. "And your ability to protect those under your care." The room beyond was spacious and elegant, with a view of the city that would have cost millions on Earth. Luke noticed that, while everything looked comfortable, nothing was purely decorative. Every piece served a purpose. "One more thing," Mara said as she turned to leave. "Tariak's death. It wasn't an accident. Remember that when you meet the council tomorrow." She met his eyes one last time, and Luke saw worry beneath her composed exterior. "Sleep well, Luke Miller. You'll need your strength." The door spiraled shut, leaving Luke alone with his thoughts and a growing sense that he'd stepped into something far more dangerous than a simple inheritance. He walked to the window, watching as the twin suns set and the city's crystal towers began to glow with internal light. Somewhere in those towers, someone had killed his friend, someone who might now be targeting his sisters. "What did you get me into, Tariak?" he whispered to the alien sky. "And more importantly, what did you know that got you killed?" Sleep proved elusive. Luke spent hours studying the cultural databases provided in his room, trying to understand the complexities of Rakshasa clan politics. Around midnight, according to his Earth watch, a soft chime interrupted his research. "Unable to rest?" Mara's voice came through some hidden communication system. "Too much to learn," Luke replied, unsure if she could hear him. "The garden level is open to you. Sometimes walking helps clear the mind." Taking the hint, Luke found his way to a vast indoor garden. Bioluminescent plants cast a gentle glow across winding paths, and the air felt alive with something more than just oxygen. He wandered until he found a small meditation area near a flowing water feature. "Your form is wrong." Luke spun around to find Kaylee emerging from the shadows. She'd changed into training clothes that highlighted her athletic figure, her silver hair now tied back practically. "I wasn't aware I was doing anything," he said. "You're breathing wrong, standing wrong, moving wrong." She circled him critically. "Everything about you screams target to anyone trained in combat." "Then teach me to be better." The words slipped out before he could think them through. Kaylee stopped, raising an eyebrow. "You want me to train you? Now?" "Why not? We're both awake. And if I'm going to protect you and Mara, I should learn from the best." A ghost of a smile touched her lips. "Flattery won't save you from bruises." She took a fighting stance. "First lesson, defense. Try to stop me from taking you down." What followed was 30 minutes of Luke repeatedly meeting the garden floor in increasingly creative ways. But each time, he got up, learned, adapted. By the end, he managed to dodge one of her strikes, only to be swept off his feet by another. "Not entirely hopeless," Kaylee admitted, helping him up. "But—" An alarm shrieked through the garden. Red lights pulsed along the walls. "Perimeter breach," Kaylee snapped, instantly alert. "Multiple hostiles." Dark figures rappelled down through the garden's glass ceiling. Laser fire erupted across the peaceful space, scorching plants and forcing Luke and Kaylee behind a decorative boulder. "Stay here," Kaylee ordered, drawing a weapon from seemingly nowhere. "Like hell," Luke grabbed her arm. You said I need to protect you? Let me start now. More intruders landed. Luke spotted something familiar about their gear. It used the same power configuration as systems he'd worked on Earth, a weakness he knew how to exploit. They're shield generators, he whispered to Kaylee. If we can overload the frequency. She caught on immediately. The garden's sonic irrigation system. Exactly. Kaylee smiled, a predator's grin that made his heart race. Perhaps you're not just talk after all. Cover me. She handed him a small pistol-like weapon and darted toward the control panel. Luke provided covering fire, surprising himself with his accuracy. The weapon seemed to anticipate his intentions, compensating for his inexperience. Callie reached the panel and began rewiring it with impressive speed. The attackers pressed forward, but Luke kept them pinned down. One got too close. He landed a lucky punch using one of the moves Kaylee had just taught him. Now! Kaylee shouted. A high-pitched whine filled the garden. The attackers' shields flickered and died. Before they could recover, security forces swarmed in from multiple entrances. The fight ended quickly after that. Impressive timing. Mara appeared beside them, looking unruffled despite the chaos. Both with the attack and your solution. You knew they were coming, Luke realized. This was a test. Everything is a test, Kaylee approached, looking at him with new consideration. But their weapons were real enough, as was your choice to stay and fight. The council will be interested to hear how you handled this, Mara's eyes twinkled, especially since one of them ordered the attack. Luke stared at the destruction around them. Politics here are a bit more direct than on Earth. Welcome to Vitrael, Kaylee clapped his shoulder, gentler than before. Lesson 2 would have been about expecting the unexpected, but you seem to have grasped that already. As security forces cleaned up and medical teams treated minor injuries, Luke caught both sisters exchanging meaningful looks. Something had shifted in the dynamic between them. Get some rest, Mara touched his arm lightly. Tomorrow you face the council formally. Tonight's incident will help, but they'll have other challenges waiting. And we'll be watching to see how you handle them, Kaylee added. Don't disappoint us, Earthman. Luke watched them leave, noting how they moved in perfect coordination despite their different styles. Only then did he notice his hands were shaking from adrenaline. On the floor nearby lay one of the attackers' damaged shields. He picked it up, mind already working on improvements to the design. If he was going to protect his new family, he'd need every advantage he could get. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but for now, he'd earned a small victory, and perhaps the beginnings of trust. The garden's automated systems began repairing the damage, new plants already sprouting from the scorched earth. Like the garden, Luke realized, sometimes growth came from destruction. He just hoped he was ready for whatever tomorrow would bring. The council chamber loomed like a cathedral carved from living crystal. Luke adjusted his formal robes, a deep blue that complemented the sisters' traditional green garments, as they ascended the gravity-defying steps. Remember, Mara whispered, her hand briefly touching his arm, sending a subtle electric charge through his skin. Zarak will try to provoke you. He excels at finding weaknesses. Especially in those who desire what belongs to others, Kaylee added pointedly, though her usual ice held a hint of something else. Concern? The chamber doors spiraled open, revealing a semicircle of elevated seats occupied by the most powerful members of Vitrael society. At the center sat High Counselor Zarak, tall, aristocratic, his emerald skin bearing the silver markings of ancient nobility. Luke Miller of Earth, Zarak's voice resonated through the chamber. You stand before us claiming the right of succession to the Rikshasa clan. His silver eyes narrowed, a bold claim for an outsider. Luke stepped forward, conscious of the sisters flanking him. I make no claims, counselor. I simply honor my friend's last wish. Ah, yes, your friend. Zarek's lip curled slightly. Tell me, what could possibly qualify an Earth engineer to protect two daughters of one of our most ancient houses? Perhaps, Luke met his gaze steadily, the same qualities that made Tariak trust me with their safety. Trust? Zarek stood, his robes shimmering. Or desperation? What did Tariak tell you of our ways, of our struggles? The way he said struggles made Luke's spine tingle. He remembered the attack in the garden, the too convenient timing. He taught me that true strength lies not in domination, but in protection. That wisdom doesn't always wear traditional faces. Murmurs rippled through the council. Zarek's eyes flashed. Pretty words, but words don't protect anyone. Surely you're aware of the dangers our society faces, the threats to our very genetic purity. Luke felt Kaylee tense beside him. This was it, the opening he'd been waiting for. Interesting that you mentioned genetics, counselor. I've been studying your recent initiatives, particularly those involving genetic preservation. Zarek's composure flickered. You presume to understand our scientific endeavors? I understand that forcing genetic uniformity leads to weakness, not strength. That diversity, even outside influence, can strengthen a bloodline. Luke stepped forward. Just as Tariak understood that sometimes the best protection comes from unexpected sources. You dare lecture us on our own science? Zarek's voice thundered. What could you possibly know of the powers we preserve, the forces we control? I know that true power doesn't need to announce itself, Luke replied calmly. And I know that fear of change often masks fear of losing control. The chamber erupted in shocked whispers. Zarek's face darkened. You speak of things you cannot comprehend. The sisters require a protector who understands our ways, our needs, someone suitable. His gaze lingered on Kaylee, whose jaw tightened imperceptibly. Before Luke could respond, Kaylee stepped forward. And who would you deem suitable, counselor? Someone who views us as property to be controlled, assets to be preserved. Her voice carried deadly precision. The council chamber fell silent. Lady Kaylee, Zarek's tone dripped false concern. Surely you see that this outsider cannot possibly understand. He understood enough to defend us last night, she cut him off. When your test nearly destroyed our home. Her silver eyes blazed. He fought beside me, not for me. That alone speaks more than your elegant words about preservation and control. Luke felt a surge of warmth at her defense, quickly followed by alarm as Zarek's expression shifted to something dangerous. Perhaps, the counselor said softly, we should proceed to the traditional trials. See how well your Earth champion performs when truly tested. Mara moved closer to Luke, her presence calming despite the tension. We accept the trials, she declared. All of them. Very well. Zarek smiled, showing too many teeth. The trial of honor begins tomorrow at dawn. I do hope you're prepared, Mr. Miller. It would be unfortunate if anything happened to your new family. As they left the chamber, Luke caught Kaylee studying him with new intensity. That was either very brave or very foolish, she said finally. Is there a difference here? Her lips curved slightly. Perhaps not. She moved closer, her warrior's grace making his pulse quicken. But remember, bravery alone won't keep you alive on Vitrael. The morning of the trial of honor dawned with all three of Vitrael's sons creating a spectacular light show across the Crystal City. Luke stood in the preparation chamber, examining the ceremonial armor Mara had helped him select. It responds to your biorhythms, she explained, adjusting a panel near his shoulder. Her fingers brushed his skin, sending that now familiar electric tingle through him. The more centered you are, the stronger its protection. And if I'm not centered? Luke asked, trying to focus despite her proximity. Then you'll wish you'd paid more attention during our meditation sessions. Her blue eyes held a hint of mischief. The door slid open and Kaylee strode in, already in her formal combat suit. Ready for your first real test, Earthman? That depends. Are you finally going to tell me what I'm facing? The sisters exchanged looks. Kaylee sighed. The trial of honor isn't just about wisdom or combat. It's about proving your worth to lead. Through what, exactly? The maze of minds, Mara said softly. A psychic labyrinth that will test your deepest convictions and your darkest fears. Luke's stomach dropped. Psychic? You mean... Hope you don't have too many secrets, Kaylee smirked, but her eyes held concern. Because everyone will see them. The trial arena was a vast amphitheater filled with thousands of spectators. In the center, a complex pattern of light formed an ever-shifting maze. Zarek waited at its entrance, looking smugly confident. The rules are simple, he announced to the crowd. Navigate the maze, face your trials, emerge with your honor and sanity intact. And if I fail, then the sisters will need a more suitable protector. Zarek's smile didn't reach his eyes. Shall we begin? The maze swallowed Luke in light. Reality shifted, and suddenly he was back on Earth, in the lab where he'd first met Tariak. But something was wrong. The memories were twisted, darker. You failed me, Tariak's voice echoed. You let them kill me. No. Luke pushed through the illusion. You trusted me to protect them. That's what matters. The scene changed. He was in the garden during the attack, but this time he ran away, leaving the sisters to die. He felt their disappointment, their pain. Is this what you truly are? Zarek's voice taunted. A coward hiding behind noble words. Luke gritted his teeth, centering himself like Mara taught him. No, this isn't real. This isn't who I am. The maze shifted again. He saw Kaylee and Mara, but they were different, cold, mechanical versions of themselves. Join us, they beckoned. Let us be perfected. Let us be preserved. Understanding hit him. This wasn't just about his fears. It was showing him Zarek's vision for the Rikshasa clan, genetic manipulation, forced evolution, control. No! Luke's voice rang out. Their strength is in their freedom, their uniqueness. I won't let you cage that. The illusions shattered. Luke found himself back in the arena, standing before Zarek. The crowd was silent, having witnessed everything through the maze's psychic link. Impressive resistance, Zarek conceded. But let's see how you handle something more personal. The air shimmered, and suddenly Rena stood before Luke. She was stunning, tall, graceful, her green skin almost luminescent. She moved toward him with practiced seduction. Why fight so hard for those who don't want you? She purred. I could show you pleasures beyond your human understanding. Luke felt the psychic weight of thousands watching, judging. He saw Kaylee and Mara in the audience, their expressions unreadable. Because they're worth fighting for, he said firmly. And because true pleasure comes from earning trust, not taking shortcuts. Rena's form dissolved, leaving Zarek looking decidedly less pleased. The crowd erupted in cheers. The trial of honor is complete, the council announced. Luke Miller has proven his mental fortitude and moral character. Later, in the privacy of their estate, Kaylee approached Luke as he sat in the meditation garden. You surprised many today, she said, sitting beside him, including me, only because you expected me to fail. No. Her hand touched his arm, sending sparks through him that had nothing to do with alien biology. Because you saw through Zarek's manipulation. You saw what he plans for our people. The genetic modifications, the preservation program. She nodded grimly. He wants to turn us into perfectly controlled specimens, and he needs our family's artifact to do it. The one Teriak died protecting? The one you're now bound to protect. She stood but hesitated. You did well today, Luke, but the next trial will test more than your mind. Will you help me prepare? Something flickered in her silver eyes. Meet me at midnight. Wear something you don't mind getting destroyed. As she walked away, Mara emerged from the shadows. She's warming to you. Is that what you call it? Mara laughed softly. For Kaylee? That's practically a declaration of love. Her expression grew serious. But be careful. Zarek won't take today's defeat lightly, and the trial of protection is designed to be lethal. Any advice? Yes. She stepped closer, her scent like exotic flowers and lightning. Don't die. I'm starting to enjoy having you around. Midnight training with Kaylee proved both exhilarating and exhausting. She drove him relentlessly through combat sequences, her body moving with lethal grace. Your reflexes are improving, she admitted, pinning him for the dozenth time. Their faces were inches apart, her silver hair falling around them like a curtain. But you're still thinking too much. Luke was acutely aware of every point where their bodies connected. Maybe I'm distracted. A ghost of a smile touched her lips. Focus, Earthman. But she held the position a heartbeat longer than necessary before releasing him. The days blurred into intense preparation. When he wasn't training with Kaylee, he was studying defense systems with Mara, learning to integrate his engineering knowledge with Vitrael technology. The house's neural network responds to emotional resonance, Mara explained one evening, her hands guiding his over the control interface. Like this. Energy pulsed between them, and the security grid lit up like a constellation. That's intimate, Luke managed, trying to ignore how right her touch felt. All true connections are. Her blue eyes met his. That's what Zarek will never understand. The night of the protection trial arrived with the ritual of 3 moons, a sacred celebration that drew thousands to the Rikshasa estate. Luke watched from a hidden security station as guests filtered through his upgraded defense systems. Impressive modifications, Kaylee said, appearing silently beside him. She wore formal ceremonial armor that highlighted every deadly curve. But remember, technology isn't everything here. Speaking from experience, speaking as someone who's lost enough battles to know how to win them. She checked her weapons with practiced efficiency. Stay alert. Zarek will strike when we're most vulnerable. The celebration was a swirl of color and light. Alien music pulsed through crystal chambers as the 3 moons rose, bathing everything in multicolored radiance. Luke kept close to the sisters, watching for threats. The attack came during the height of the ceremony. The lights failed first, plunging the estate into darkness. Then the screaming started. Northern sector breached. Kaylee's voice cut through his calm. Multiple hostiles. Luke's modified defense grid sprang to life, identifying friend from foe through the emotional resonance Mara had taught him. Protective barriers shimmered into existence, herding guests to safety while targeting the attackers. Clever. Zarek's voice echoed through the estate's systems. But let's see how you handle this. The neural network erupted in chaos as viral code attacked its foundations. Luke's hands flew over the controls, fighting to maintain control. They're trying to turn the house's defenses against us, he shouted to Mara, who was working frantically beside him. Can you stop it? Better. His fingers danced across the interface. I can trace it back to its source. An explosion rocked the building. Through the security feeds, Luke saw Kaylee engaged in fierce combat with elite warriors. She moved like liquid lightning, but they kept coming. Go, Mara urged. I'll handle the systems. She needs you. Luke grabbed a weapon and ran. He found Kaylee cornered in the garden chamber, bleeding from a shoulder wound but still fighting. Without thinking, he threw himself into the battle. They moved together as if they'd trained for years, not days. Luke's earth combat style complemented her alien martial arts perfectly. When one attacked, the other defended. When one feinted, the other struck. "Behind you!" Kaylee's warning came just as a massive warrior charged. Luke spun, using one of her own moves against the attacker. The warrior went down hard, but the victory was short-lived as more poured in. "The artifact vault!" Mara's voice crackled through their comms. "They're breaking through! Go!" Kaylee shoved him toward the door. "I'll hold them here." "Like hell." Luke grabbed her hand. "We do this together." Something flashed in her eyes. Surprise, respect, maybe something more. Then they were running, fighting their way to the vault where Mara was already engaged in mystical combat with dark-robed figures. The battle that followed would forever blur in Luke's memory. He remembered Kaylee's fierce grace, Mara's powerful spells, the way the three of them moved as one unit. He remembered pain as a blade found his side, then the incredible sensation of Mara's healing energy flowing into him, their auras merging in a moment of startling intimacy. When it was over, the attackers were defeated, and Luke's security systems had captured enough evidence to prove Zarek's involvement, though the counselor himself had conveniently disappeared. "You're full of surprises," Kaylee said later, as Mara tended their wounds in the quiet aftermath. "Not many would have stood their ground against those odds. Not many have something so worth protecting." The words slipped out before he could stop them. Mara's hand stilled on his injury. Kaylee's expression softened almost imperceptibly. "The trial of protection is complete," Mara announced softly, "though not in any traditional way." "When has anything about this been traditional?" Luke winced as she sealed the last wound. "True." Kaylee stood, stretching like a predatory cat. "Which makes me wonder what you'll make of the final trial." "The trial of trust? After all this, how hard can it be?" The sisters exchanged looks that made him suddenly nervous. "Oh, Earthman," Kaylee's smile held both promise and warning. "You have no idea." The evening after the protection trial, Rena arrived at the estate. Luke recognized her from the psychic maze. She was even more striking in reality, her movements calculated to entice. "A gift," she announced, presenting a bottle of shimmering liquid, "to celebrate your victory." Luke noticed Kaylee's subtle tension, Mara's careful observation. This was no social call. "Join me in the garden?" Rena's invitation dripped honey. "The third moon is particularly beautiful tonight." The garden had been restored after the battle but now held different dangers. Rena led him to a secluded spot near the singing fountains. "You're quite remarkable," she purred, pouring the luminescent wine. "Most humans would have broken under the trials. Most humans aren't fighting for something this important." She moved closer, her perfume intoxicating. "And what exactly are you fighting for, Luke? Position? Power?" Her fingers traced his arm. "Or something more personal? You tell me." He met her gaze steadily. "Since this is clearly another test." Rena laughed, a melodious sound. "Clever, too. No wonder they're so protective of you." She pressed against him. "But surely you must wonder what it would be like with someone less complicated, someone who could show you the true pleasures of our world." Her lips brushed his neck, sending electric tingles through his body. For a moment the temptation was real. She was beautiful, willing, uncomplicated, but wrong. Luke stepped back. "I appreciate the offer, but no." "No?" Her eyes flashed. "Do you know how many would kill for this opportunity? Probably as many as would kill to separate me from the sisters." He smiled without humor. "How is Zarek, by the way?" Her seductive mask slipped slightly. I don't know what you mean. The perfume you're wearing? It contains the same chemical compound I've constantly smelled on Zarek. According to Mara, it's practically his signature scent. Rena's expression hardened. You're making a mistake. I could give you everything you desire. That's just it, Luke said quietly. You can't. Because what I desire isn't about pleasure or power. It's about trust, honor, love. Love? She spat the word. For the Ice Warrior and the Mystic Dreamer, they'll never truly accept you. You'll always be an outsider. Maybe, but I'd rather be their outsider than anyone else's insider. A slow clap echoed through the garden. Kaylee emerged from the shadows, her silver eyes gleaming. Well played, both of you. Though your desperation shows, Rena. Mara appeared on his other side, her presence warm and reassuring. The trial of trust is complete. You can report that to Zarek. Rena's beauty twisted into something ugly. Fools, all of you. You have no idea what's coming. Actually, Luke said, thanks to your performance, we do. The compounds in your perfume, they're not just signatures. They're components of Zarek's genetic modification program, the one he's planning to force on all Rikshasa. How? Rena's composure cracked. Engineering background, remember. Plus, Mara's been teaching me about molecular resonance. Amazing what you can learn when you trust your teachers. Rena fled, her rejection and failure evident in every step. As her footsteps faded, Luke felt the tension drain from his body. That, Kaylee said appreciatively, was masterfully handled. Indeed, Mara stepped closer, her eyes shining. You've passed every trial we set before you. We set? Luke looked between them. You mean? We had to be sure, Kaylee explained, moving to his other side. Sure that you were worthy. Sure that you could protect not just our bodies, but our hearts. And our secrets, Mara added. Her hand found his, energy sparking between them. So all of this, the trials, the attacks, Rena. Some were real. Kaylee's hand slid up his arm. Zarek's threats are very real, but how you faced each challenge, how you proved yourself. That was all you, Mara finished. They were both so close now, their unique sense mixing into something intoxicating. Kaylee's warrior heat, Mara's mystical cool. Finally, Kaylee breathed. We can do this. She moved first, her lips claiming his with warrior passion. The kiss was electric, powerful, sending sparks through his entire body. Then Mara's soft lips replaced her sister's, a different kind of magic altogether, gentle but no less intense. When they broke apart, all three were breathing heavily. The garden seemed to pulse with shared energy. Well, Luke managed, still reeling from the dual assault on his senses. That's definitely better than Rena's approach. Kaylee laughed. A real laugh, not her usual controlled amusement. Just wait, Earthman. You haven't seen anything yet. But first, Mara's voice held both promise and warning. We need to deal with Zarek. He'll make his move soon, now that the trials are complete. Let him come. Kaylee's silver eyes blazed with determination and something more. We're stronger together. Luke pulled them both closer, feeling their unique energies harmonize with his own. Together, he agreed. Above them, the three moons aligned, bathing them in multicolored light. Whatever Zarek planned, whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them as one. The trials had proven not just Luke's worth, but the strength of their unconventional bond. And as the sisters' lips found his again, Luke knew that some things were worth any trial, any challenge, any fight. Some loves transcended worlds, traditions, and even ancient laws. The real question was, what would Zarek do when he realized his plans had only served to make them stronger? The discovery came by accident. Luke was upgrading the estate's security systems when he found the hidden surveillance network. Thousands of micro cameras, quantum transmitters, and emotional resonance readers, all broadcasting every moment of their lives to the entire planet. He sat in shocked silence, reviewing the footage, their trials, their battles, their intimate moments. All of it had become Vitrael's most popular entertainment. Luke? Mara's voice made him jump. She froze at his expression. What's wrong? Instead of answering, he pulled her close, lips brushing her ear. Smile like, I just said something romantic, he whispered. We're being watched. Always have been. To her credit, Mara didn't flinch. She laughed softly, running her hands up his chest. How watched? She breathed against his neck. Full coverage, live broadcast. He nuzzled her hair, typing one-handed to show her the feeds. The whole planet's watching. Her fingers tightened on his shoulders. Kaylee needs to know. Already here, Kaylee's voice purred from the doorway. She must have read something in their body language because she sauntered over with exaggerated sensuality. Starting without me? Luke pulled her into their embrace, creating a tight circle where they could whisper without being overheard. We're Vitrael's biggest reality show, he murmured. Everything. The trials, the attacks. Our private moments, Mara added, keeping up their passionate facade with impressive commitment. Kaylee's eyes flashed dangerously, but she channeled it into running her fingers through Luke's hair. Zarak? Has to be, Luke agreed, letting his hands wander to maintain their cover. He's using public opinion as a weapon. If I'd failed the trials, the people would have demanded your removal, Mara finished, her breath hitching as his fingers found a sensitive spot. But you didn't fail. No, Kaylee's smile turned predatory. In fact, according to these ratings, our Earthman has become quite popular. Luke accessed the public feeds. She was right. The people of Vitrael had become invested in their story. The comments ranged from supportive to obsessive. We can use this, he whispered, drawing both sisters closer. Give them a show they'll never forget. Mara's eyes widened in understanding. The artifact. Exactly. Luke let his hand trail down Kaylee's spine, making her arch against him. Zarak wants an audience? Let's give him one. When? Kaylee breathed, playing her part perfectly. Tomorrow. The ceremony of ascension, when he tries to take the artifact. We expose everything, Mara finished. To everyone. They separated slowly, maintaining their passionate facade. Kaylee stretched like a satisfied cat. Well, that was enlightening. Indeed. Mara's smile held secrets. Shall we take this somewhere more private? They moved through the house, putting on a show of growing desire while actually preparing for tomorrow's confrontation. Every passionate embrace concealed a whispered strategy. Every lingering kiss hid crucial information. Let Zarak watch, Luke thought. Let him think they were distracted by desire. Tomorrow would show him exactly what happened when you underestimated the power of true connection. Above them, the surveillance network hummed, broadcasting their performance to an eager audience. But for the first time since this began, they were the ones in control of the story. The ceremony of ascension dawned with unprecedented spectacle. The crystal city gleamed under the triple suns, and crowds gathered in every public space to watch the live feeds. Luke and the sisters had become celebrities, their story captivating the planet. Ready? Luke asked, adjusting the ceremonial robes that concealed various pieces of tech they'd modified overnight. Born ready. Kaylee checked her hidden weapons with practiced efficiency. She wore a stunning formal gown that managed to be both regal and deadly. Mara finished her preparations at the artifact's containment chamber. The transmitters are in place. Once Zarak makes his move, The whole planet will see the truth, Luke finished. He pulled them both close, knowing they were on camera but no longer caring. Whatever happens. Together, they said in unison. The Great Hall of Ancients was packed with Vitrail's elite. Zarek stood on the central platform, resplendent in ceremonial armor that screamed power and authority. Today, his voice boomed through the hall, we witness the final integration of our newest Rakshasa guardian. His smile didn't reach his eyes, and the beginning of a new era for our people. Luke approached the platform, Kaylee and Mara flanking him. The artifact floated in its containment field behind them, pulsing with ancient power. Before the ceremony begins, Zarek continued, there is one final requirement. He gestured and guards moved to surround them. The artifact must be examined for compatibility. Funny thing about compatibility, Luke said clearly, knowing his words were being broadcast across the planet. It works both ways. He tapped his wrist device. Every screen in the hall suddenly lit up with footage. Zarek's secret meetings, his genetic modification labs, the truth about his plans for the Rakshasa people. What is this? Zarek snarled. Just giving the people what they want, Kaylee stepped forward. More drama for their favorite show. Gasps echoed through the hall as understanding dawned. The surveillance feeds, the public broadcasts, everything was exposed. You dare? Zarek's composure cracked. You think these pathetic attempts at rebellion will change anything? I am protecting our future. By turning us into puppets, Mara's voice carried power. By manipulating our very essence. The artifact is the key to our evolution, Zarek shouted. With it, we can perfect our race. Perfect? Luke challenged. Or control? Show them, Mara. Mara raised her hands, and the artifact's containment field shifted, revealing its true nature. Not just a power source, but a key to genetic manipulation on a massive scale. He would use this to rewrite our very DNA, Mara announced to the shocked crowd. Turn us into his ideal of perfection, stripped of choice and free will. Better than letting our bloodlines be contaminated by outsiders, Zarek spat, by humans who think they can claim our legacy. Legacy? Kaylee's laugh was sharp. You mean like how you claimed my brother's life when he discovered your plans? The hall erupted in chaos. On every screen, evidence of Zarek's involvement in Tariak's death played out for all to see. Enough! Zarek raised his hand and the guards moved in. Take them! Take the artifact! What followed was pure chaos. Kaylee moved like liquid lightning, her formal gown hiding combat armor that put the guards to shame. Mara's mystic shields deflected energy weapons while Luke's modified tech disrupted their coordination. But Zarek had planned for resistance. More troops poured in, and the artifact's chamber began to pulse with dangerous energy. He's trying to activate it, Mara shouted over the combat. If he succeeds, then we don't let him succeed. Luke grabbed her hand, reached for Kaylee. Remember what you taught me about resonance? The sisters' eyes widened in understanding. As one, they moved toward the artifact, their energies combining, amplifying. Stop them, Zarek commanded, but it was too late. The artifact responded to their unified presence, its power growing, changing. Where Zarek sought to control, they offered choice. Where he demanded perfection, they embraced diversity. You feel that? Luke asked the watching crowds. That's not power over us. It's power within us, the choice to be who we are. The artifact pulsed one final time, then shattered, not destroyed but transformed. Its energy flowed into the air, touching everyone present with possibility rather than control. Zarek screamed in rage, lunging for them with a hidden weapon. Kaylee moved faster, taking him down with elegant precision. Guards who had served him moments ago now moved to restrain him. "The thing about reality shows," Luke addressed the still broadcasting cameras, "is that sometimes the audience sees the truth before the performers do." The aftermath was spectacular. Public feeds exploded with support. Zarek's co-conspirators were quickly identified and arrested. The Rikshasa clan, far from rejecting their unusual new leader, embraced the change he represented. In the quiet of their estate that evening, Luke found the sisters in their private garden. "So," he settled between them, "famous across 2 worlds now. Not bad for an Earth engineer." "Humble as always," Kaylee snorted, but her hand found his. "Though I suppose you've earned some bragging rights." "We all have," Mara curled against his other side, "though I won't miss performing for cameras." "About that?" Luke grinned. "I may have arranged a small revenge." He activated his pad, showing them the final broadcast from their surveillance network, a masterfully edited montage of Zarek's most embarrassing private moments, set to comic music. Kaylee's laughter rang out. "You didn't?" "Oh, but I did. Currently trending across 3-star systems." "Evil," Mara approved. "I like it." 6 months later, the integration of Earth and Vitrael technology proceeded faster than anyone expected. Luke's new company, Rikshasa Innovations, became a bridge between worlds, with offices in both Seattle and the Crystal City. "Incoming call from Earth," the house AI announced one morning. "Put it through to the garden," Kaylee called from where she was teaching advanced combat forms to a mix of human and Rikshasa students. Luke's image appeared, looking harried but happy. "Missing anything? Because I have 3 meetings about quantum resonance applications and no idea where my presentation went." "Check the folder marked Earth Stuff," Mara suggested, not looking up from her medical texts. "And yes, we miss you too." 2 more days, he promised. "How's the morning sickness?" Kaylee rubbed her slightly rounded belly. "Your son is already a warrior, though not as active as Mara's twins." Speaking of active, Mara set aside her books with a groan. "These girls never sleep. I think they're practicing zero-gravity gymnastics." Luke's expression softened. "I love you all, even the acrobatic ones." "Just get home," Kaylee ordered. "These pregnancy hormones make me want to either kiss you or kill you, sometimes both." "Noted, though that might just be your normal personality." She threw a practice blade at his hologram, making him laugh as it passed through. After he signed off, the sisters exchanged looks. "He has no idea about the surprise, does he?" Mara asked. "Not a clue." Kaylee's smile was wicked. "The council's face when we announced the pregnancies was priceless enough. Wait until they hear we're naming them after Earth Rikshasa hybrid flowers. Technically, we're only naming the twins that. Your boy is still Tarak." "As he should be." Kaylee's expression grew thoughtful. "Brother would have loved this, you know. All of it." "He did love it." Mara touched her sister's arm. "He made it happen." 1 year later, the naming ceremony was a grand affair, broadcast across both worlds, this time with full permission. Little Tarak, already showing his mother's silver hair and his father's curious eyes, solemnly accepted his name before promptly trying to eat the ceremonial sash. The twins, Susie and Thea, coordinated their first mystical manifestation to create tiny fireworks during their naming, much to everyone's surprise and delight. "Well," Luke surveyed his unusual family afterward, "I'd say that went better than our first public ceremony." "Fewer assassination attempts, certainly," Kaylee agreed, bouncing Tarak on her hip. "Though possibly more explosive," Mara added, wrangling the twins. They stood on their favorite garden terrace, overlooking both the crystal spires of Vitrael and through a permanent quantum portal, the Seattle skyline. 2 worlds, Luke mused. 2 cultures, 3 partners, 3 babies. Getting overwhelmed? Kaylee teased. Never. He pulled them all close, children and all, just appreciating the complexity of it all. Speaking of complexity, Mara's eyes twinkled. Wait until they're old enough for interplanetary school. The thought made them all laugh, a family moment captured not by hidden cameras, but by the pure joy of being together. Life between worlds wasn't always easy. Cultural differences led to amusing misunderstandings. Scheduling across planetary time zones proved challenging, and explaining their relationship to Earth's more conservative elements required considerable diplomacy. But they made it work. Kaylee's combat school attracted students from across the galaxy. Mara's integration of mystical and medical practices revolutionized healing on both planets, and Luke's innovations helped build literal and metaphorical bridges between worlds. The children grew strong in both cultures, proud of their unique heritage. Tarak showed both his mother's warrior spirit and his father's technical genius. The twins, while identical in appearance, developed distinct personalities. Susie gravitating toward diplomatic arts while Thea preferred scientific pursuits. And if sometimes the logistics of managing two households on different planets drove them crazy, well, that's what quantum portals were for. You know, Luke said one evening, watching all three children practice their first kata under the triple moons, when I got that hologram from Tariok, I thought my life was going crazy. It did go crazy, Kaylee reminded him, her head on his shoulder. Beautifully crazy, Mara agreed from his other side. Above them, the stars of two worlds twinkled. Below, their children laughed and played, and around them, the garden bloomed with flowers from both Earth and Vitrael, growing together in impossible harmony. Just like them. The end. As the triple moons of Vitrael set and Earth's single sun rises, I find myself thinking about boundaries, not just between worlds, but between stories and reality. Like Luke, Kaylee, and Mara, we all navigate multiple worlds, the ones we're born into and the ones we choose to create. Their story came to me through a quantum transmission, or perhaps just a particularly vivid dream, one night when Seattle's skyline looked almost crystalline in the rain. It reminded me that the best bridges aren't just the ones we build between planets, but the ones we forge between hearts. To those who walk these worlds with them, thank you. Whether you align more with Kaylee's warrior spirit, Mara's mystic wisdom, or Luke's adaptable ingenuity, I hope you found a piece of home in their journey. And if you ever look up at the stars and see an unusual shimmer, well, perhaps it's just a quantum portal opening somewhere above the city. After all, the best love stories transcend not just cultures, but worlds. Until our paths cross again, either on Earth or Vitrael, with resonant energy, your storyteller,